Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Live at the Waterhole. Where first up, we're at the Jamala Waterhole in the Madikwe Game Reserve of the Northwest Province of South Africa. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and what does the bush hold in store for us today? Well, you'll just have to sit back, relax, and see what animals come down to the waterhole. Now, don't forget, as per usual, that this is a live and interactive experience. So we'd love for you to jump on board with us and send us through your questions and your comments. And you can do that by going on the WildEarth website and registering. Lots and lots of animals here. It does seem like it's a little bit overcast, so I'm not sure how hot it's going to get today, but it does seem like already we've got countless game down here at this particular spot. Yesterday there were lots and lots of animals as well. It was extremely hot, so it does look like maybe it's cooled down a little bit, but it hasn't stopped the animals from coming down. So let's hope we're going to get lots more activity once more. Nice big group of zebra there off in the back. Some impala as well as these blue wildebeest here in the foreground. Seemingly just getting onto the new shoots of grass, but maybe also doing or practicing a bit of geophagia. So getting in their supplements as well. Bit of fighting going on between those zebra there in the background, biting and turning around in circles, each trying to get to the other one's back feet. So, Reese, thanks for your comment, and you're the first viewer to send through. So, nice one. It's lovely to have you on board with us, and thanks for your comment. As always, it's going to be exciting to see what happens across all the different locations. It's just such a wonderful concept, this, with these remote cameras from WildEarth and also in partnership with AfriCam. So, speaking of it being a little bit overcast here, and maybe it's cooled off a little bit, I'm not quite sure. So, let's go and see what the weather's going to be like across all the different locations. So it seems it has cooled off quite significantly today. It's about a 10-degree drop. So it's not going to be as hot as it was yesterday. But that doesn't seem to have changed the activity next to the waterhole with an abundance of wildlife here now. Seems those two zebra are really getting at it now. It's probably two stallions and they're fighting for dominance. Remember, only the males have those incisors in their teeth structure, and it occurs right across the horse family, including donkeys, horses, and all the zebra species. And they use that in this kind of biting fights that they have, kicking and biting each other. And that's often why you see zebra without tails as well. Obviously, also remembering that at waterholes, this is a convergence of all the animals, and very often territories overlap, home ranges overlap, and with the concentrations next to the waterhole, it includes the different harems of zebra that will come together. So often lots of conflict, especially when it's dry and the animals are concentrated around the water. And I wonder when we're going to see the elephants start to come down. With it being a little bit cooler, maybe there won't be as many as we've seen in the last few days when it's been absolutely scorching. So that little bird that flew in just on the bottom right of the screen, and it had, I think, went into the elephant dung there. Maybe there was an insect or two, but the wing flicking that it was doing made me think that it would be something like a familiar chat. Didn't see enough of it to confirm, but that particular wing flick would be very indicative of a familiar chat. So this is generally the animals that we see coming down here. Blue wildebeest, impala, zebra. Yesterday we had a whole troop of baboons, which was, and of course elephants, giraffe, warthogs, and there's a group of, it's around about 5 buffalo bulls, dugger boys as we call them, that have been left behind by the herd, and they seem to be quite regular visitors here as well. So, Dark Main Lover, nice comment. Thank you. And yes, the animals are just enjoying their lives. There is a bit of conflict going on, but it is wonderful to watch. See there again, the zebras going at it once more. Quite impressive fighting, I must say. It's probably two well matched stallions.
Do you believe in a world where rhinos can thrive? Join WildEarth and our special guest Aaron Strawn on the 23rd of September for a fireside chat in commemoration of World Rhino Day. Come along and get to know Aaron's rhinos and tune in to some interesting conversations about creating a secure and fruitful environment for our precious rhinos. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
And when you see a picture like this with so many animals around, it's almost like watching a colony of ants. You almost don't know where to look. A couple of the impala just trying to brave the mud there and get to the water that they can drink. And it obviously is quite risky because with their very sharp hooves, they can sink into the mud quite deep. And then there's every chance that they may get stuck. And then they'll be very easy prey for predators, or if they can't get themselves out, they'll actually just die in the mud. So they do need to be careful. A couple of young males here, probably from last year. So just while we're watching these impala, I always like to just delve into something different that we don't always talk about, the basics of all the animals. I like to get in a bit deeper than that. And just having a look on Africa Geographic, and they've got a lovely article on impala, and it's called Colors, Contours, and Cleanliness. The rufous two-tone coats of impala is a very distinguishing feature, with the dark fawn-colored top half contrasting with tan flanks and a white underbelly. This is theorized to be an example of counter shading in nature, breaking the pattern of light and shade of a three-dimensional animal. The idea is that the darker dorsal coloration helps disguise ventral shadowing when lit from above and hides the shape of the impala from potential predators. And this is quite similar to what you get in fish as well. The flank stripe may also visually amplify the vertical leaps of fleeing impala, making them seem even more impressive and thus deter predators. Interesting, but so far unexplained, is the astonishing similarity in the coloration of the impalas and the gerenuk, two antelope with no close phylogenetic relationship. The dark line markings on either side and through the middle of the impala's tail are likely signaling devices, particularly during a chase. When impalas are running from a threat or displaying stotting or showing off behavior, the tail is also raised to expose the fluffy underside, which may help individuals stay together as a group. The black metatarsal glands on the back legs, found only on the impala, are also believed to serve a similar function by releasing pheromones during high stress. Of all antelopes, impala are perhaps the most meticulous about grooming. They're also one of the few that engage in both self and allo grooming, where one individual grooms the other. The loose teeth of the front lower jaw form a functional tooth comb that helps to remove ectoparasites.
Do you know what it takes to protect and empower rhinos? On the 22nd of September, WildEarth is hosting a fireside chat in celebration of World Rhino Day. A special guest from Rhino Revolution will join us as we pay tribute to these extraordinary creatures and talk all things rhino, from horn trimming to rewilding. Don't miss out on the fun. Wild Earth, it's in your nature.
So, just continuing on a little bit about the impala, and a misconception that I've heard many guides actually speak on is around the misconception that female impalas can delay the birth of their lambs for up to a month in anticipation of the arrival of the rains. However, this is a physiological impossibility. A ewe cannot control her fetus's growth, and labor is triggered when the lamb reaches its full size. The arrival of some lambs later in the season can easily be explained by a later conception time, either because the ewe came into estrus late or the first estrus did not result in conception. Something that may contribute to a bit of a later birth would be poor nutrition, which may also slow the growth of the fetus slightly. In southern Africa, the lambs are born around November and early December during this region's baby season, as we call it. or lambing or season. A couple of days after birth, the mother will lead her lamb back to the herd, where it will join a nursery with the other newborns. These nurseries may be guarded by a few ewes or even left to fend for themselves for hours each day. When it comes time for the ewe to feed her baby, both mother and offspring bleat frantically until they're reunited. Like all ungulates, the lambs are quick to find their feet, and the sight of them bouncing around and showing off on absurdly spindly legs is utterly beguiling. Play fighting is a common sight, and the male lambs begin butting heads long before their horns grow. The lambs are then weaned as early as 4 months old, with just enough time for the females to try and recover body condition before the rut then begins again. And that's normally coincided with the shortening of daylight. That's normally what triggers the rut and the increase in testosterone in the males. But to put her life into perspective, an Impala ewe is pregnant for over 6 months, lactating for another 4, and then has about a month to herself before the rams start chasing her from pillar to post once again. She'll then fall pregnant again and grow a 5-kilogram lamb during the dry season, when available food is at its least nutritious, which is right now. That's what we're seeing. And as if this weren't enough, she can still run at over 75 kilometers an hour to escape predators. This should give some idea of the evolutionary marvel that is the impala. So the next time you happen to find yourself on safari, take a moment to stop with a herd of impala and spend some time simply observing them. The impala is one of the animals you are most likely to be guaranteed to spot on every game drive. So why not take an opportunity to appreciate them? So now that we've kicked off the show with a lovely start here at Jamala in the Medikwe Game Reserve, I think, as per usual, we'll head up into East Africa and Kenya and the Africam Old Donyo. And for any new viewers that haven't seen this spot, it's one of our busiest of all the waterholes, and it's located on over 111,000 hectares of private land in the heart of the Chulu Hills between Kenya's Tsavo and Amboseli National Park, and as you would have seen on the map. Now here we've got some eland and the endangered fringe-eared oryx. We've really been privileged in the last few days to have a number of big tuskers here at this waterhole all together and spending lots of time just here. So beautiful perspective, nice and low angle on this camera, and we're very close to the action as well. So you can hear the animals as they walk through the water, as they drink, and anything else as well. So there is obviously an ebb and flow of animals coming and going here, but there's hardly a moment when there's nothing around. And then generally when the big animals and like these mammals of the eland and fringe-eared oryx move off, you can often see a lot of birds coming in to drink next to the waterhole. And we've seen particularly the cutthroat finches, emerald spotted wood doves, and we've also had a number of predatory birds too. The gymnogene or the African harrier hawk, an African hawk eagle. We've also seen secretary birds here as well. Right, so it has gone a little bit quiet for now, so no need for us to sit here and wait for the animals to come down. We'll come back as soon as there's some more action. But in the meantime, let's go to the Pilanesberg National Park back in South Africa and KwaMaritani. Oh, we've got some little fire finches here. This is wonderful. Obviously, the name suggests that really red, bright red color. But which one is it? Get the Jamison's firefinch, and there's a couple of other ones. So I'm just going to try and see for any real distinguishing features. I think this one in the bottom here is a female, not quite as red as that little male that we saw just flitting off there on the left. Seemingly gone now, but definitely one of the firefinches. And here, out of focus, just on the left, that seems to be a breathing log, is a hardy-door ibis. I think either that or a hammerkorp. I can't quite see. It's a little bit out of focus because we're trying to get the focus on the firefinch. There it is, moving around. There's a little male. These are tiny little birds. Very difficult to get on camera. So this is quite a special sighting, this. Which of the firefinches is it? That's the question. If you know the answer, send it in. And it is, in fact, a hammerkorp there on the right. I think, I'm not quite sure, because it's difficult to see the exact markings. Could it be a red-billed firefinch? I'm just going to double check between that and the Jamisons. So when we did have a look there, it seemed like it didn't have a red bill, and in fact, it's a black bill. So I would say more so leaning towards Jamison's. That's out of focus now. We've got a wonderful picture on this Hammerkorb. Off goes the Hammerkorb and chased off a few doves as it went. Oh, we've got a partner. So I do believe those are Jamison's firefinches, and they are seed-eating birds, along with the dove, which I think is it's either a red-eyed or a laughing dove. I think it's a laughing. And they're also seed eaters, so that's exactly what they're doing there. There's probably lots of little seeds from the grass and all sorts. That's all what they'll be foraging for. You very often find the little wax bills together with the likes of, or say firefinches, together with the likes of wax bills, like the blue wax bill, very similar in size, but very contrasting colors. And that very blue or turquoise color on the blue wax bill is also very impressive. So Jexa, it's a very, very bright color, isn't it? It's very special, but they're so small that you often just see this little red flash, and they move around quite quickly as well. But what a wonderful view of this Hammerkorb. I don't think I've been able to get a Hammerkorb this close, and that's one of the bonuses of these remote cameras. They have no idea that we're watching them. This spot here at Kwamaratani, next to the waterhole, but with quite a lot of cover around. It makes for excellent birding. So each location has got its different perks, and this being one of them here in the Pilansberg National Park. Definitely around the birds. Now, I have also heard some disturbing news coming out of Pilansberg National Park that there's been some huge fires. And I think at least one of the camps has burnt down. So I'm just going to try and find out a little bit more information on that. But we do hope that everybody's safe and sound and not too much damage occurred, at least. And so, for any of the international viewers that didn't know, this bird being called the hammerkop, directly translated from Afrikaans, meaning hammerhead, for that very peculiar shape of its head, looking like a hammer. And what's nice around this time of year, as I've suggested in the last few days, we're going to be seeing all the birds coming into breeding plumage. And here you can see this little male Jamison's firefinch doing exactly that, with its bright colors now showing through. And that's what most of the birds are going to be displaying as well. Lots and lots of colors to be expected, particularly from the males.
Chatting around a fire is an ancient practice that has connected humanity for centuries, and we want to keep it alive in our modern age. As an explorer, you'll have access to intimate gatherings with our naturalists, fascinating guests, and experts where we share knowledge, insights, and stories around a crackling fire. Rediscover the power of connection. Sign up to be an explorer today and experience the magic of WildEarth's Fireside Chats.
And they might be trying to avoid the fires as well, but that could be thirsty work coupled with the stress. So I don't know if there's going to be much playtime. It would be awesome if there was, but there does seem to be a little bit of the element of stress in this group. Lots of vocalizations as well. This does indicate that they're not entirely happy. Lots of head shakes as well from all the animals, from all these ellies. You see them just sort of looking around, head shaking, making sure that there's no other animals about. So another indication from a breeding herd of stress within the group. Yeah, it's as I thought. Not much time for play, and it doesn't seem like there's an appetite for enjoyment. They're quenching their thirsts and moving off. Good luck, chaps. So I think that's it for this group of elephants. I think they're going to disappear and try and keep away from wherever this fire is that's creating all the smoke. With that, I think we'll leave as well, and let's go to back to the Madikwe Game Reserve in the northwest province of South Africa. But this time, let's go to Africam Tau, where this is another excellent birding spot. Lots of waterfowl that are seemingly resident in this waterhole, which is a bit further north in the Madikwe Game Reserve than where we are at Jamala. Seems there's a game viewer going through in the background, maybe coming back from their morning game drive. We've got a grey heron and we've got some red-knobbed coots. There's an Egyptian goose and there's the white-faced whistling ducks. I'm sure we'll see black-winged stilts. And of course, keep an eye out for the crocodiles as well. So yeah, generally we also see lots of wildebeest, zebra, impala, sometimes springbok, and we've seen a troop of baboons here too. So quite similar to the area at Jamala. However, there's a lot more waterfowl and of course crocodiles here as well. We've also off on the gravel plains just off of this waterhole, we've seen some ground squirrels there.
Those sounds just go straight through you.
So I was speaking on crocodiles the other day and just asking if anybody knew if there were any other reptiles that perform parental care. And I've just been looking around myself and trying to research and see if I can find anything because I haven't yet had an answer. So I found on Britannica that although a few species of lizards and snakes remain with their clutch, often curling their bodies around their eggs for the entire duration of the incubation period, the most intricate examples of parental care occurs in crocodiles. Even though there are species specific variants in behavior, the female crocodile typically creates a nest mound of soil and vegetation using her mouth, limbs, body, and tail in its construction. After she digs a hole in the mound and lays her eggs, her attention remains focused on her eggs and she stays nearby to watch over them. As the eggs begin to hatch, the hatchlings begin to chirp and squeak, bringing their mother to the nest. She uncovers the eggs and may even use her tongue to help some of the hatchlings out of their eggshells. She then carries her young to the water in her mouth and will stay with them for several months until they are large enough to survive on their own. And that's normally in a bit of a nursery section of a river or a waterhole. But we do know that some reptiles also bear their young alive, and this is what we call viviparous or viviparity. And it's widespread and has evolved independently dozens of times in the squamates, which is lizards and snakes. No living crocodiles, turtles, or tuatara are live bearers. However, in the squamates, live bearing ranges from retention of unshelled eggs in the oviducts to the development of placentae between the mother and her fetuses. The evolutionary steps from egg laying to placental development are demonstrated by extant species. For example, the rough green snake retains eggs for varying periods, and it can deposit eggs containing full-term embryos that hatch within days of deposition. In other taxa, the eggs are not shelled but remain in the oviducts throughout the development. The yolk nourishes each embryo, although gas exchange does occur across the membranes and the oviductal walls. Placental development ranges from simple wall contact and gas exchange between the mother and a developing embryo to the full interdigitation of maternal and fetal tissue from nutrition and gas exchange. There are several types of placenta that have evolved in squamatas that use various components of amniotic membranes. And so when that happens, it seems like those viviparous snakes are giving live birth, but in fact, they just retain the eggs within their body until they hatch and leave the mother's body. But in which case, there's still no parental care like we find in the crocodiles. So, and I always liken crocodiles and watching them very similar to watching lions in the heat of the day. That's pretty much what they will be doing. Not much. Looks like an Egyptian goose just going for a bit of a bath in your top left corner. I think that little bird walking just on this sort of horizon between the change of levels of soil, I think that's a three-banded plover. You can also see the heat waves starting to come up off the soil as well as it heats up. There's a red-knobbed coot that called. So, I don't think we're going to spend too much time watching this crocodile do nothing. I think we'll change of place. And this time, I think let's go back to the Pilanesberg National Park and Africam Kwa Maritani. We're joined by some thirsty zebra. Seems they're also evading the fire. I really hope that they're going to get that under control.
Do you love relaxing at a waterhole with the sights and sounds of Africa all around you? Well, we have some really exciting news for you. From August 1st, Africam is joining forces with WildEarth to bring the majesty of Africa right into your living room with 9 incredible new waterhole cameras from across South Africa and Kenya. Get ready to embark on a new journey. This is Live at the Waterhole.
So I just want to, now that we're seeing the images of all the smoke and the obvious fire that is causing it, um, there was a statement put out by the Pilanesberg National Park and Wildlife Trust on Facebook. And, the conditions in the last little while have been very hot and very windy, which is true fire conditions. With those berg winds, even more so. And the Pilanesberg National Park and Wildlife Trust have said a massive fire roaring through the Pilanesberg National Park from 2 o'clock on Saturday, the 16th of September. So it's obviously still going. After strict instruction that there be no braai or fires in the park, someone at Fish Eagle simply had to disobey the rules. The result, damage to an immense area of the park that is still burning. The Manyani gate access is gone, burnt to the ground. Staff houses barely escaped the same fate, and the fire is still in the staff areas. Manyani Resort lost most of their chalets. Due to limited resources, most of the focus was on people and infrastructure. The fire went east, north, and south. No chance to stop it in the heat and intense winds. There's no way to know what damage lies in the parts of the park we have not got to yet. Hopefully we can get aerial surveillance in the morning, so that would have been yesterday, and determine what needs to be done. The teams are still out there and will be for as long as needed and or possible. Thank you to all who assisted and are still assisting, and that's from the Legacy Lodge guides. So if you can help in any way whatsoever, well, maybe you can go onto the Pilanesberg National Park and Wildlife Trust Facebook page and see where you can assist, because the fire is still raging. So, and also people, remember, if there is a directive given out, especially around fires, come on, let's do our bit and let's at least pay attention and do the right thing. Now this hammerkop just catching a bit of a snooze here. It seems like this is a preferred sort of roosting spot. You can see quite a bit of their dung along the branch itself. So I think probably lots of birds using this as a resting point, and maybe also to hunt from into the water, the fish eaters. Yeah, so I think they're probably doing some aerial surveillance. You may hear the helicopters overhead. They're probably checking where the fire is moving and maybe also potentially directing the teams on the ground who are fighting it. And if you've ever been involved in bushfires, it's scary. It takes a lot of manpower. And you've also got the element of the animals fleeing away from the fire, so you don't need to only worry about the fire, you need to worry about the safety of the animals and yourself. And it can continue on for days on end. Takes an immense amount of labor and stress, etc., not only on the humans but also on the wildlife, of course, who are surviving out there. So as I say, I just want to repeat it. If there's directives given out around fires, please, folks, just listen, because this is as a result of just not listening and making your fire anyway in that heat and wind, and now the result is going to be probably millions in loss of infrastructure and revenue, and probably loss of wildlife as well. So and that's obviously one of the missions here at WildEarth, is to connect people with nature, but it's also to connect people with, the rules and regulations of the different areas that we go to, and also make other people aware of the challenges that do occur in the game reserve. So I do think that it's upon us to try and educate people a little bit more, and all we do is ask, just listen to the guys on the ground when you're in those parks, and not think that you know everything, because they're doing it for a reason, and they know, as I do, what implications fire have when they get going in these reserves, especially at this time of the year. It's the driest time, and so the most conducive to runaway fires. So, Alice, yeah, it is very sad. The last thing I want us to do is start a witch hunt. People make mistakes. Everybody does. And I think that's, sorry, I'm just stopping. Is that a long-billed crombeck just jumping around there? It's a strange looking bird without a tail. Or it's a babbler that doesn't have a tail. So, yeah, I just think education and trying to talk to people nicely. We don't want to start fighting. That's not the answer. It's just trying to be better. And let's do it in a positive way without, being nasty, etc. It's not going to save this fire. People need to work together now to stop it. They're just a few arrow-marked babblers, looks like. I think I heard them a bit earlier as well. So they're carrying on their business regardless of all the smoke. And I think that's also the color that you can see in the air now, that sort of haze that is presenting itself. You can hear the Indian miners calling. They're the most prominent call there in the background. Except for that. That's a Natal spurfowl making that racket. So arrow-marked babblers, their call can be quite easily mistaken for the red-billed woodoopoos, or the what do they call them now? The green woodoopoos, or the Schlegerbafazi as they call them, because they also got quite a the green woodoopoos do like a oh, and there's a blue waxbill, what I was talking about earlier. Whereas the arrow-marked babblers do more of a but very easily mistaken between the two. They're quite similar, but I'm just glad we got to see that very blue or turquoise color from the blue waxbill that I was talking about when we saw the firefinches earlier. There was a tree squirrel that was just scooting through there between the grass. Oh, there's another one on the right. You never know what you're going to see. Is he come down for a drink? What's he up to? So tree squirrels, they very often do cache sort of seeds and nuts and whatnot that they do find, but it's normally about this time of the year that's pretty much run out. So you very often then find them out foraging once again and not digging up their caches. And that's exactly what I think this individual is doing. It is the time, it coincides with new seeds and things on the way. So it might be a little bit starting to be up for grabs. I always think that squirrels look like they're constantly being electrocuted. There we've got a spur fowl coming in. I think it's a Natal spurfowl, probably the one that was making the racket earlier. And that'll be a brown-hooded kingfisher calling in the background, while this hammerkop's doing just some grooming and maintenance of the feathers. It's nice to see the birds with such clarity from this perspective and from these remote cameras, because I actually didn't know that there was this barring on the tail of a hammerkop. Never noticed that. But now, with the clarity we get, it's obviously very clear. If I found one of those feathers in the bush, I would have been very excited, and not that I wouldn't be, knowing that it's a hammerkop, but I would have thought the likes of something like a pulse fishing owl or something like that, with that particular coloration. But now I would definitely think about the hammerkop immediately. And there's lots of grey go-away birds alarm calling now. It could be for a bird of prey, but that's also something that we can use to indicate if there's predators around. If they all start calling like that, it can generally mean that they are alarm calling. It's like guinea fowl though as well. They can indicate predators, but they can also mess you around, because they can just be having a squabble or calling amongst themselves. And so it's not actually for a predator, but it's always worth a check. And you can see with that calling, you see how the hammerkop keeps looking in the sky. So I'm wondering if it's not a bird of prey. Right, it's a lovely time spent there with the elephants previously, the zebra, as well as these little birds, especially that hammerkop, the blue waxbill, and the little fire finches. With that being said, I think it's time to change of place and let's go back to Kenya and Old Donyo. Where it's changed up a little bit. We've got a yellow baboon there, some eland that we had earlier as well. But nice to see a baboon. I'm sure there'll be more of them. And here come the zebra. So I wonder how many of them there's going to be. Oh, there's a couple more baboons as I thought. Gonna have a quick drink. A couple of males. And sorry about that, folks. A bit of a frozen screen. So we've changed up of place and we've gone to the Madikwe Game Reserve once again and Jamala. So a little foal zebra there, obviously with its mother. And interesting to note how long their legs are. You can see that the belly sits at the same height as its mother, which is quite incredible. But in so doing, it does help to evade predators because they won't be able to pick it out when they look at the zebra from a distance that there's a little baby there. that was trying to drink, and I don't think mom's too keen. But look at the stilts that they seemingly walk on. And the belly's at the same height as its mother, which is incredible. So there was the sort of mention of the zebra not looking as in good condition here. I think maybe a little bit, but you can see what they're doing. They're definitely feeding on the soil, licking it, and trying to get in some supplements. That's a real indication of the nutrition in the bush not being great at this time. So it would make sense, and I think exactly what I said previously. No rain having fallen here, nothing substantial, and obviously in the Pilansberg area, it's a lot greener. It's a lot more food availability, and what is available is also a lot more nutritious.
WildEarth is home to Africa's endangered unicorn. We aim to inspire the protection of our rhinos by connecting people to them.
I am here with a beautiful female rhino and her calf.
Join our naturalists as we track our favorite rhinos on safari.
Hello, big boy.
Watch it live and join the rush this Rhino Day with WildEarth.
So it does seem like the wind's picking up a little bit here, and obviously very clear skies. So it's the same sort of conditions that we'll probably have in the Pilansberg area as well. Very hot Although it's cooled off a little bit since the weekend, but still very dry and very high fire danger. So we hope that there's no fires that break out in these parts. All right, so I think we're going to try again at Old Donyo. Apologies for the freeze frame earlier, but maybe it will play along this time. So off we go. Where we still got some yellow baboons. Always nice to watch baboons. I can sit and watch them all day. As I've said previously, though, as long as they're not anywhere near my vehicle or my lodgings, oh, have we got a freeze frame again? Shame. It just really doesn't seem to be playing along today. No, there it's back. Come on. Might be working. But you can also see the heat waves coming off the ground here. So it's probably rather warm. Seems this baboon is the only animal that's left here. You would think there are more baboons around. Ah, there we go. And that one seemed to have only half a tail. Well, he's being chased. Jeepers. He came past in a hurry. Seemed like a bit of a squabble going on, yeah. Couple of big males here. That's a big old male baboon, that one in the middle now. Does seem to be the boss around here, I think. I don't see any others nearly as close as big as him. Here comes another male of similar size. it seems. Impressive. Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. It just doesn't seem to be wanting to play along today. So we've headed just outside of Kimberley in the African Kamfersdam, where here the focus is mainly on the flamingos, lesser and greater, and they should be increasing in numbers over the next little while and starting to nest. So we hope to see lots and lots more flamingos here in the future. Lots of red-knobbed coots as well, and you'll also see some pied avocets foraging just along the shoreline. And I don't know if it was yesterday, but we have seen some springbok here as well. So this is a small private reserve around the Waterhole of about 400 hectares. Now there was a duck moving through there as well. I think it might be a teal. It's just off on the right of your screen now. But there we can see the pied avocets, black and white. Now I just want to see, those look like Cape teals on the right. These are also South African shell ducks, just these ducks, the bigger ones with the brown on the left. Also just trying to see a bit better of these ducks that I think are teals. Oh, a bit of argy-bargy there between the flamingos. Wonder what that was all about.
Get ready for your daily dose of African wildlife magic. Be enchanted by the intimate moments shared by the animals as they drink, play, and interact in their natural habitat. With our daily wildlife videos, you'll experience the thrill of safari adventures without ever having to leave your seat. Let the wild adventure unfold right before your eyes. Africam, always live, always wild.
So we are just staying here at Kamfersdam outside of Kimberley, and watching the birds as they go about their business. And there's a little bit of inactivity across all the other locations. So, well, we'll just enjoy the flamingos for now. There's a little grebe that just dived under the water there. Tiny little bird. That was. There he is, off on the left. They do move of space pretty quickly. And there he is again. So very good divers are the little grebes. I was fortunate enough to sit next to the Scotia Dam on the Kariega Game Reserve in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa for an extended period of time, and I watched a couple of pairs of little grebes as they built their nests. It was also around this time of the year. So they build it, and the male and female both heavily involved in the whole nest building as well as rearing of the young. And so they build this little floating island. It's like a mini volcano, similar to the shape of a flamingo's nest, but they make it out of sticks and flotsam and jetsam. And then once they lay the eggs in there, the male and female both incubate the eggs. But if at times there will be both of them that leave the nest, they'll actually cover it then with moss. So you just see this little moss ball in the grass and stuff. They'll most likely make it in an area just where these ducks are. And then later on, once the chicks hatch, then same thing. The adults are up and down, both trying to feed the little chicks and also sometimes protecting them by sitting on them. And then later on, they'll also then climb on the adults' backs as they swim around and move around in the water. And they're tiny. And it's just incredible to watch. And as I say, it was quite a privilege to watch that all unfold. And so maybe we'll see that here. We've just got to watch this bird and see if it does in fact head back towards a nest. It does look like it's on a sort of a foraging mission, more so than anything else. But maybe it's got the startings of a nest in there somewhere. Yeah, I don't know what that was that flew past. Could it have been Hardy Dars? I don't know. Not quite sure.
Hi, my name is Claire. WildEarth has been part of this home for many years as it connects us to the bush and the culture that we love and miss so much. I became an explorer so that other people around the world can get to experience the African bush in this unique way as well. I am beyond excited that I was drawn to win the prize at Ambakala Game Reserve for 3 nights. It is truly a dream come true.
Sign up today and you could be the one experiencing it for yourself.
No, so all those birds there in the background of what we saw flash of earlier as they came past the camera, those are all white-faced whistling ducks. So that's the kind of groupings that I know them to be in. So when we see them at the African Tau in the Madikwe Game Reserve, there's only a few of them there, which for me is actually quite unusual. This is the more common sight of lots of them together. It's a bit of a range of activity going on now. There's a little bit of feeding, but mainly feather maintenance, a bit of grooming. Otherwise, I think a bit of sleeping as well. I don't know what's spooked there, or if it's just the white-faced whistling ducks taking to flight and then giving everybody a fright. Just a little bit on flamingos and in different cultures. To early Egyptian culture, the flamingos were a representation of the god Ra, who was known as the god of the sun. They felt that the animals were there as a reminder of the work of that god, and they went out of their way to make sure these animals were preserved. In Peru, the flamingo is considered to be a sacred animal. They've been preserved and often are found in various types of artwork. In many stories, the flamingo is the savior of animals due to the way in which it can bend its neck and the abilities it has both on land and in flight. Some legends say that these were men that, in the form of the flamingo, now have additional abilities than before. Many books have references to those, as well as including the classic Alice in Wonderland. Alice ends up using one mallet to play the game of croquet. You can also find them in books for kids with a variety of different characters, etc. And for older children and for adults, there's books that have real information about flamingos, their habitating habits, and the future for them. And here we do see a real conservation success in this Kamfersdam, nice protected area specifically for the flamingos. So, Jive Bunny, thanks for your comment, and glad that you're finding the information to your liking. Try and keep it fresh, try and keep it new, but we always got to remember that we might also have new viewers. So, if there are any new viewers and you'd like to know anything in particular, please just send it through. You can do that by going on the WildEarth website and registering. So, speaking of any new viewers, I want to give a little information on flamingos, and I found something from the Ponant magazine, which makes for nice reading, and it's headed "A Flamboyant Pink Plumage." The word flamingo comes from the Spanish word flamenco, meaning fire, and refers to the bright color of the bird's feathers. Now, we do get other flamingos that get a lot darker, almost red color to them, so I can understand where that name comes from. Mostly with these flamingos, it's you can see a bit of a pink shade, but mostly their bright color is below or underneath the wings. And it's suggested that the flamingo's bright plumage actually inspired the legend of the mythical firebird, the phoenix. And this is reflected in the name of this wading bird's scientific name, Phenocopteridae, the phoenix winged. Flamingos are the only birds that belong to this bird family, and their closest bird relatives are ibises, herons, egrets, cranes, and spoonbills, and even ducks, geese, doves, sandgrouse, although they are most closely related to grebe genetically. Flamingos are not born, well, they're not born, they hatch, but they're not hatched with a unique pink color. In fact, chicks are born gray or white, and it can take them up to 3 years to reach their mature pink color. Their pink, orange, or red coloring comes from unique ability to detect and metabolize carotenoid pigments in the food they eat, the same pigments that makes orange. Wild flamingos' diet includes shrimp, plankton, and sorry if there's any breakup there, folks. Just hope that you're hearing me clearly. And crustaceans, and skimmed from different water sources which contain this called pigment. When flamingos have a diet lacking these pigments, the birds will be a gray or white color instead. But this means that they are not healthy. Depending on what these birds eat, they may also have orange feathers, and many flamingos also have some black on their wings as well. But a flamingo's pink color is not restricted to just their feathers. With the carotenoids they ingest spreading much further, turning their skin and blood pink as well. Pink also means power among the flock, with the birds with the most vivid coloring having the highest status in the colony, showing that they are a strong individual and are good at finding food.
Are you WildEarth's biggest fan? Well, we have a brand new competition for you. Join our naturalists on Safari Live and listen out for weekly questions. To enter the competition, head over to our Instagram, search #WildEarthFanOfTheMonth and comment your answer under the post. The monthly winner will be determined by the total quickest and most correct answers. We announce our winner at the end of every month. Tune in to Safari Live daily.
All right, folks, lovely to spend time here at Comfortsdam with the flamingos, but I think let's try once again at Old Donyo. Because we've got such a wonderful animal here now drinking at the waterhole. It is indeed the Sagittarius serpentarius, or the archer of snakes, and that being the secretary bird. Let's hope he sticks around. He obviously wants to have a drink. Just getting scared off a little bit there, though. Oh, is it the baboon that's having a go at him? No, looks like the baboon just wants to have a drink as well. You see how he has to scoop the water, meaning he doesn't have it. There's a few birds that do, and they don't have to do that. Mainly the bustards and the doves. I think there's one or two others, but the secretary bird, definitely not one of them. I think this bird needs to quickly get its drink, otherwise it's going to be pushed out of this area by all of these arriving zebra, who pretty much dominate this waterhole, especially when they gang up like this. So I don't think it's going to be around for much longer. They're going to be pulling in now. Unlucky for you, birdie. No, looks like he's leaving the area altogether. So as I thought, there's just too many zebra now at the waterhole, and it's not going to get another chance until they leave. And still lots more zebra arriving there, so I think this is going to be the zebra show for the next little while. Wow, look at that. Hardly a space for anyone. Well, there's an oryx trying to mix it in the middle there as well. A fringe-eared oryx with its horns poking up the top. absolutely mesmerizing just watching all of these stripes, and you can understand why predators would get a bit confused with these dazzling black and white stripes as they move past each other. Difficult to sort of lock in on one individual. So, Nicole, it can sometimes affect the animals when the water's dirty. I mean, dirty is it's quite a loose word, that, because in this waterhole it'd be just the dirt. Yes, so for the true sense of the word, dirty, that wouldn't necessarily harm any animals whatsoever. It's just got a bit of soil in the water itself, so that would have been kicked up by them moving around like that. It's more bacteria and virus that they need to watch out for. But generally, with their stomach acids, they're able to digest it. And the more exposure you get to certain bacteria, normally your body is able to, and that goes across the animal kingdom, is able to deal with it and kill it. So exposure is key. And very often, especially with the likes of zebra, being hindgut fermenters, but we see it with a lot of animals across the board, that the babies will drink and eat the mother's defecation and urination, and in so doing acquiring a lot of the good bacteria that assists in when the bad bacteria arrives, it helps to fight that and kill it off. So, and also then whatever the mother has sort of got in her digestive tract, the baby will acquire that and be able to fight then off all the baddies. So I think the less exposure you have to dirty water, the more you will be affected by it. But if you drink dirty water every day, not so much. Obviously, there are bacteria and virus that will still go through regardless. But I often just think the likes of people that live in rural communities in South Africa, some of them walk for 10 kilometers or more a day to go and get stagnant water from a freshwater source, but in the real sense of the word, dirty water. And they drink that every day. And there's only certain times that they have outbreaks of the likes of cholera and etc., when obviously there's a little bit more at play. But in general, people that drink mineral bottled water every single day they would get sick drinking that water. Those people out there don't get sick because they're used to it. And they've got all the bacteria that is normally present in that particular water, and they're able to fight it off. So, but if a normal person don't drink it, it wouldn't do well at all. If you had to spend some time there getting through the illness initially, you'd also be able to drink that water. So it's I suppose you've got to put it all into perspective. And in the animal's case, in the wild, they're very used to this kind of water. So it's only something out of the ordinary that would make them sick. So in going along those lines, you know that it's said that wherever you go, you should try to get honey from the local area that you're in, because honey is a natural antibacteria, antiviral, and all of that. It's a natural preservative. But you should get it from the local area, because the bees are then using all the, I'm not sure the skills that they use, but also with the local viruses and bacteria in mind, and obviously that's preserving against that. So if you eat the local honey, you can then give yourself a natural antibiotic and it will be very relevant for that specific area. So best to buy local honey as a very good natural medicine. This is just fascinating to watch here in Kenya, with the amount of zebra that are coming in here and really fighting for space. But what a spectacle. So what a wonderful time spent here once again, one of our busiest waterholes in Kenya, or the old Donyo African. That being said, I think it's time to head from east to west. Let's go on down to National National Park in Namibia and Okokoyo. Complete scenery, and we can see black-faced impala, springbok, swimming oryx, and this being they say South African oryx, I'd rather say Southern African oryx or common oryx, the Oryx gazella. A little bit different to the fringe-eared oryx. And we've got zebra as well. There's some kudu there in the background. I'm sure we might see some blue wildebeest here as well. That's a pied crow calling. They're very common here around the camp itself. Nice to see it's getting quite busy. Still haven't seen any elephants today, have we? Well, we did briefly at Pilansberg, shame, but those guys were quite stressed, understandably so, with the fire that's raging there currently. And you'll see here the zebra don't have quite the numbers that they have in Kenya, so they're not as aggressive or pushy as they are there. Here, I would say that the gemsbok is probably dominant around the waterhole, apart from when the elephants come in, of course. But between the rest of the animals, they're definitely, I would say, number one. Sorry, it seems like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties across a couple of the locations, and yeah, we can see the screen's a little bit jumpy, so apologies for that. We'll just see if it fixes itself. If it does, we'll stay. If not, we'll move on. That's a brave little springbok there, swimming in the water. He's a youngster too.
Do you want to touch the lives of future protectors of our Earth? Thanks to our wonderful WildEarth explorers, WildEarth Kids is back. Sign your class up for WildEarth schools and enjoy a special virtual field trip to Africa with interactive learning tailored for kids.
Very warm welcome to the kids from WildEarth Primary School.
We'll be dedicating the first hour of Sunset Safaris every Wednesday to our planet's future defenders. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
It's nice to watch these springbok as they come in for a drink. And it's pretty hot today in Etosha. I think it's the hottest of all the locations. I think it was around 36, 31 or 35 degrees, somewhere there. Well over 30 anyway. Um, and we haven't even gotten into summer yet. So we know that it's hotter as the days go on, and it's going to get drier as well. So there's going to be more and more concentrations of animals around this particular waterhole. And that's what it then becomes famous for. The later the rains come, the more the animals will concentrate here. And it's just an absolute wildlife spectacle. Righty, so nice stop in here in the Etosha National Park at Okukuyo. But I think just for our last location before the end of the show, let's head back to the Madikwe Game Reserve and Jamala. Where we've got some more relaxed elephants than the ones that we had in the Pilanesberg National Park. They've got every reason to be stressed, though. But no fires for now here in Madikwe, and long may it last. But it's not too far from. So we just hope that that doesn't become even a bigger issue than just on the reserve. These fires can break loose, and so obviously the park management there at Pilanesberg, I'm sure, will be hard at work now. Nobody's going to be sleeping at fires out. Let's hope the wind drops. It does seem to have subsided a little bit from the weekend as well. So hopefully that'll work in their favor. Anyway, back to the animals at hand. We have had the question, why are some brown and grey? Well, the grey ones are sort of more the natural color of elephants, but they'll also have a bit of the mud that they've been spraying on themselves from this waterhole, and you can see that grey color to it. Then off on the right, you can see the brown color of the dust or the soil. And that's what the elephants have been throwing themselves on themselves after they've had a spray with water and with mud. And so that's what turns them the brown color. It's just literally covered on them, and whatever they've been throwing on them, that's the color that they take. The Etosha elephants are often referred to as the elephant ghosts because they almost become white from that calcrete rocks and the soil that comes from it, and they throw that on themselves, and they literally do look like ghosts or albinos, as some people have suggested or asked, are they albino elephants? No, because when it rains or they have a swim, they all turn back to grey. So we've got a elephant with one tusk here. If it's been broken off by another elephant, or if it's just broken off by itself. Sometimes the tusks can be brittle. Um, we do know this, and there's parts in Botswana where I've been in the Linyanti and Cylinder areas, and you can actually find ivory lying around all over the place because the elephant's tusks are so brittle that you can find it all over. And I actually asked one of the Botswana locals, well, why don't more people pick them up? And he said because the BDF will be watching. And that's the Botswana Defence Force. Nobody knows wherever they are. They're always out moving through the wild areas. And so they say that the bush has eyes and ears, and it's the BDF that will be knocking on your door the day after you pick up a piece of ivory. So I left it alone because I didn't want the BDF coming knocking on my tent. So slowly heading towards the end of the show. And with that being said, please don't forget that later on this afternoon, there will be the Sunset Safari that starts at 2:30 p.m. And tomorrow morning, there'll be the Sunrise Safari, and that starts at 6:30 a.m. And then, of course, we'll be back here at 9:30. And apologies for any little breaks there. But we'll be back here at 9:30 a.m. It won't be me this time. There's going to be somebody new. Surprise waiting for you tomorrow. But I'll be back in the not too distant future. So never fear. And I'll also be out in the field as well on the sunrise and sunset safaris. Also in the not too distant future. So it's been a pleasure. I hope it's a pleasure for you. And thanks to the wildlife, of course, as being the stars of the show. Thanks to you, the viewers, for joining us. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to have you on board. And of course, thanks to the whole WildEarth team. Without them, it also won't be happening. So well done to everybody concerned. A nice little orderly meeting of these elephants here. The one without the tusk does be making a little bit of issues there, but it's all not too bad. About what? But it's a lovely way to end the show, as we also see a zebra just struggling in the mud there. So I hope you've all enjoyed the show. I sure have. And I can't wait to be back once again. So that's it from me for now, folks. My name's Ralph Kirsten. Cheers.